Hey, my good friends at C506. We have another guest over here. You already know him. We have interviewed him in the past. It's Mr. Doug Wagner. He's over here. We're going to talk about his project Thomas River. If you remember our last talk, he was well, it was about to be released, but now it has been released. So we're talking about that and also some other things. So, Doug, thank you very much for this interview. It's always a pleasure to speak with you.
Oh, always great to see you and be on C506. So it's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Actually, we are about to we just got in our 11th birthday. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah, and we really appreciate all the support from you and well other friends in the entertainment and comic industry like you, Todd McFarlane, Mr. Uh, Jamba Saldua is an author. It's a personal friend. All others, and so Doug, Thomas River has been released, and how's been the feedback for it?
Oh, it's been fantastic. We did a Kickstarter for it, and the first issue did really well on Kickstarter. And so far, everybody seems to be really enjoying it. Of course, it's easy to do that when you got Brian Stelfreeze drawing the art. So, that makes my job that much easier. Everybody's ready for the second issue already, which we've just started recently. So, yeah, I mean, I can't believe how well it's done, and we're like humbled by how well everybody's responded to it.
That's great. So, how in the future or how in advance do you have written already until issue, or you're going issue by issue, or you already have six numbers already written?
Yeah, well, we're going to do 3 large issues, so they're going to be oversized issues. And I've already written the second one. The third one's all plotted out, but a lot of times when Brian's drawing the pages, he'll change things here and there that kind of influence the next issue. So, I kind of wait until I see what he's got all planned out for what he's going to throw in there. Because if he throws in a kitty cat, and we've got I've got to figure out how to work that kitty cat into the next issue. So, it's like always trying to figure those fun things out. But yeah, it's all plotted out, ready to go. We've written the second issue. Brian started the layouts on it. And I'll wait to start the third one until he gets pretty much done with the pencils for the second one.
So that's one of the advantages of comic books, unlike maybe movies or TV shows. You don't have these continuity errors like, hey, this was pointing over here on the previous scene, and now it's looking. No, comic books don't have that unless you do it on purpose. But
I mean, it doesn't happen as often because, like you said, we catch it. We're able to catch it as we're moving along. I mean, it does happen. There's just those mental errors that you make from time to time, even as a creative, because you're focused on something different. You'd be like, oh, I forgot to bring that. I mentioned that in the first issue. I forgot to mention it again in the third issue. So those things do happen. But hopefully, what's cool about it is you have a great team around you. So you have a team of people that are like reading over your shoulder and kind of like checking everything that you're doing to make sure that like, oh, wait a minute. I made this error. And in comics, I think it's a little bit cheaper and easier to fix a page versus like, oh, wait a minute, we've got to go back and do reshoots on a movie. So I think it's easier on us to fix it too.
Yeah, that's the thing. There is no such thing as comic book bloopers.
Yeah, no, if you don't get to see the blooper reels, we hide those.
Yeah. Well, now, unlike any other entertainment industry, but the home dwellers like video games, comic books, you were not as affected as any others, like movies, maybe TV, things like that. So, how was the pandemics for you? Did you already get the shot?
Oh yeah, I already got my second shot. I'm fully vaccinated at this point. So the second I was able to get it, I was in line. It was a crazy year, that's for sure. Here in the U.S., there for the first 3 months, they closed down the comic book shops, and then Diamond, the distributor, closed down for a couple of months. And I won't lie, I was worried whether American comics were going to make it or not. I didn't know if the industry would be able to survive. We didn't know how long that was going to last. So I started, you start wondering like, well, if I'm not writing comics, like what would I do? Like, you start thinking, like start rethinking your career of like how you're going to do this. The positive effect was that the entire industry started to evolve rapidly. So you started seeing like stores reaching out to creators individually and going, hey, do you have comic books that we can sell? You had, like with us, like Brian and I, we decided to reach out and, hey, maybe distributing through traditional channels isn't the way to go. Maybe we should try something like crowdfunding or Kickstarter or something like that. And so you saw like a lot of movement, and it's opened up a lot of avenues now for publishing that we didn't have before the pandemic happened. So I know it's, luckily as humans, like we can flex a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And learn. And I think this is one of those cases where we as humans we adapted. We went, hey, wait a minute, this isn't working anymore. What can we do to fix it? And so I honestly think the industry is in a better place now than it was before the pandemic. I know that sounds crazy, and I hate to say something good about something that was so horrible for the world and still is. But it did make at least the American comic book industry evolve in a new place that I think is going in a really great direction.
Yeah, but because maybe this just makes faster the transition from paper to digital, right? But there are still many romantics over there who still like their physical issues.
Oh yeah, that's me. I'm always going to want the fit. I mean, I can read books on digital, but I like to touch them. I like to hold a comic book in my hand, and that's never. I don't think that's ever going to change for me. So I'm always going to try to put out a physical product.
No, and I am the same, even if I'm drowning in comic books, like, the eternal pile of comic books that you haven't read, but now you bring more home from the comic book store.
I do it every week.
Yeah, comic books is, it's one of those hobbies that can increase the possibilities of becoming a hoarder, but what can I say?
Yep. I'm with you. I love my comic books. So, I'm the same way. I've got a huge pile. I'm probably at least 3 months behind on what I need to catch up on reading, and it's, but I love them. And when I go to the store, I just keep picking up more and more because I just, I want to read more comics, and there's so many great ones coming out too. So.
What are you reading right now? Any, maybe 1 or 2 series that you're following?
Yeah. I was just, like I said, I'm catching up. So Shark Metal Bro, which is an indie book, that comes through some friends that I love to death. It's so much fun. And I got the trade just recently through Scout. And also, what was the other one? Grit. That was another Scout comic book that I'm reading. And then The Last Stand. I think that's right. Yeah. By Hoyt Silva and Trey Walker. All 3 of those I picked up recently, and so they're trades. So of course, that just adds to how long it takes me to read them. But those are the 3 I'm reading right now, and they're all awesome. Like I think everybody should pick those up. They're just a ton of fun.
Any of the mainstream series, like the old ones, Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, whatever?
Yeah, the hero stuff right now is just so tough for me to follow because like unfortunately. Like I'm a huge X-Men fan, but the last time I checked, there was 10, 15 titles coming out every month, and I just can't keep up with them. And if I start reading one, I feel like I need to be reading the other one, and so I kind of get behind, so far behind, like I'm years behind on X-Men, and I'm like, at some point I'm going to catch up. It's like, yeah, it's a tough one. So I'm not. I won't lie. Like on the superhero stuff, I'm just way behind.
Yeah, I remember you're a big fan of X-Men. Actually, an X-Men comic book is the one that made you fall in love with the comics. I remember.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, thank you.
So in this case, now talking about heroes or universes having more than 1 series a month or maybe a week. Recently, we spoke with Todd McFarlane. Actually, the Spawn's universe is being released. Have you been reached to maybe write something on the current or upcoming series for Spawn?
No, Todd hasn't reached out to me yet. I would love to. I love, I've met Todd a few times. I don't think he's ever remembered meeting me, but I love Todd's work. Always have been a huge fan my entire life. I think we're really, really close to the same age. I met Todd by chance one year in Atlanta, Georgia, at a comic book convention. They had a bar at the top of the hotel that nobody knew about. So I went up to the top of this hotel and just, I wasn't going up there to, get drunk or anything. I was just going up there to get a, quick Coke and kind of relax a little bit and get away from everybody. Yeah. And I'm sitting there at the bar by myself, and Todd came and sat next to me. And, I'm like freaking out because here's this, this guy I'm a huge fan of, and he's sitting next to me and he goes, "Hey, are you here for the show?" And so we just talked for about 20 to 30 minutes, just hanging out, drinking Coke, and he's just such a nice guy, and every time I've ever met him, he always has been. But yeah, I mean, he hasn't reached out to me yet to do anything for Spawn, but if he's interested, I'd love to talk to him about it.
Maybe we can make that happen, but no, we're not that close to Todd, but maybe we just interviewed him like 3 weeks ago, so probably I don't know. So in this, you have worked with Image, and Image was created with him and Madureira and
Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld and Wills.
Because they were tired of the old practices that actually they are not that old, unfortunately. Yeah. So he talked to us about the fact that Image Comics, if you create a character or a universe, a series, they just help you publish it, but you keep you keep all the royalties or things like that. Is that correct for you?
That is correct. And
as an Image edited, printed person. I don't know how to call it. It sounds like you were printed by Image, but you know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
Is that correct? If there is something you keep the royalties or something like that?
Yes, that's 100% correct. I mean, it's Todd and all those guys created that company for creators, and they've kept that promise all these years. How many? Almost 30 years now. And one of the big attractions for me with Image has always been that you get to keep all your rights. For movies, TV, whatever that might be. There's the scary part is you're sharing more of the burden of like trying to publish a comic book and make it successful. So if the book doesn't sell, you don't make money. Yeah. So I mean, but that's you should be writing books that hopefully people want to buy. So you do your best. So there's some more motivation there. But yeah, I'm obviously. I mean, I've been publishing with Image now for over 10 years, and I absolutely love working with Image. All those people are fantastic. But the primary reason is rights. I mean, I've been approached by other companies, but their deal is they want half. And I'm like, well, for half, I want money up front. And then, then you get into this negotiation of like, how much money is that worth? And so I'm 100% behind Todd on that one. Like, I love the fact that Image, when you publish with them, you get to keep your characters for the rest of your life.
So basically it's more like a joint venture, more like some kind of work contract, right? Something like that we can call it.
Oh yeah, it's definitely more of you're kind of you're in partnership with Image. Mm-hmm. And so, the good thing is nobody makes any money unless the book does well. So everybody's motivated. Image, every creator involved. It's up to you guys to kind of help Image help you make money. So it's like you're all in the business together.
No, and that way they make tighter filters, so they can know for sure that anything they print it's a quality product. So actually, that also benefits the readers.
Oh yeah, it should help everybody, right? I mean, that's what the other thing I love about Image is they put out such great books. Just regular, independent. They don't really dive too deeply into the superhero stuff on a regular basis. And there's just so many great books. I mean, Ice Cream Man, Nail Biter. Everything that Brian K. Vaughan touches, right? So Paper Girls and Saga. And I mean, you could argue those are probably two of the most popular books in comics right now. And
Walking Dead and
oh yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, how could I forget Walking Dead, right? It's like, but yeah, I mean, it's just I mean, they've had a huge impact not only on the comic book industry, but look at all the TV and film stuff that has been made from Image Comics
and upcoming things,
Yeah.
And talking about licenses and royalties, anything that you can tell us about any project with your characters?
Well, I can tell you, I mean, obviously with Vinyl just coming out, Vinyl, the new miniseries comes out June 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as far as like, that's where all my focus is right now, is trying to, see how that book can come out when it starts, and see how well we can get, how well people like it. And if we can get it to sell, that's always the toughest part. As far as like when you start talking about multimedia rights and that kind of stuff, all I can really tell you is because they get on to me if I give too much away. Nothing that I've published in the past 5 years isn't under an option. Now, with Hollywood, that doesn't mean anything, because that doesn't mean it necessarily turns into a TV show or a film, but somebody's working on it. So you never know.
And so did you read, so I guess you were close to the adaptation of this well, for this series, for this miniseries, because we just saw the case of Jupiter's Legacy, which was
Right.
such a waste of story. They could do it a lot better, and they had to cancel it. That
Right.
Sweet Tooth actually has just been released. Honestly, I haven't seen it because I hadn't the time yet.
Right.
So I'm waiting. But were you close on that adaptation? They show you the final product. Are you satisfied with that?
Oh yeah, I mean, what's cool about, again, when you have all the rights, when you work with somebody like Image, is that you get to kind of dictate a little bit when they're working on your books, when they're doing that adaptation. They'll send you the script and say, hey, what do you think? And you can provide notes, and you try your best. The tricky part there is you don't want to be so married to what you originally wrote, mm-hmm. that you take the legs out from the people that are working on it. So you got to find this nice balance, of like, it's just tough. I mean, it's tough. You got to trust people to a certain degree, and at the same time, you want to have some kind of impact on it without you going and writing and directing it yourself.
And more, for example, when you wrote Vinyl, maybe you were you had something, maybe your ideas were different. Now you have evolved. So now it's like rewriting the comic book on the go, right? Or well, when you try to help with the adaptation, I guess.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's tough. You got to that's always a tough one, Luis. Like when you're working with a bunch of other people and they have, you hope they have the same vision for your project that you have. And sometimes they don't, and that that's happened to me in the past. And you're like, hey, we need to go different ways, and this isn't going to work out because you just don't have the same vision for my book as I do. And so, you kind of walk away from that. Because I mean, the worst thing you want is for them to take your book and make a really bad movie, right? You don't want to have one season of something like Jupiter's Legacy and have it canceled. I mean, that's horrible. It's not good for anybody. It's not good for Mark Miller. It's not good for Netflix. It's not good for the actors. Nobody benefits from that. I watched Jupiter's Legacy, didn't think it was that bad, but obviously I think some of the people involved didn't like it at all. So
the thing is that Jupiter's Legacy, had so much potential. When you read the comic books, the first part, the second part, even Jupiter Circle, they had that's the thing. For example, for Invincible, the good thing is that they didn't animate it, which actually allowed them to have a lot of more things to do. Mm-hmm. That will be way more expensive with live action. So probably that would have been one way. But what do you think Jupiter's Legacy adaptation lacked that made it so well? But that made it only last for one season?
Yeah, I mean that's tough to say. I think the fan. Man, that's a tough question, Luis. That's hard for me to answer. I think, I mean, they had incredible actors in that show. And like I said, I watched it and I didn't think it was horrible. But I'm with you. I think it could have, I think it was a little slow. I think it could have been a little bit, they could have sped it up and had a little bit more action. My favorite character in there, but it was in the book too, was Chloe. Mm-hmm. And I could have done with a little bit more Chloe and a little less, of some of the older superheroes. And I think a bigger problem is the first season didn't have a story. Like it didn't have, a beginning, middle, and end. It just kind of ended on a cliffhanger. And I know, that's becoming a thing with like streaming seasons and stuff, but I still think they could have done like a really good first season and approached it like an 8-hour, 10-hour movie. And if they would have focused on that, I think it would have ended up being better and the second season would have been possible.
Yeah, and now they are preparing Super Crooks, which actually is going to be on the same universe as Jupiter's Legacy. Maybe they will rescue some of the characters, I don't know. Or they are creating how can I call it, Crisis on Mark Millar's Earths, because all the universes are totally different. There's not such thing as a multiverse. It's totally different universe, but
right. Yeah, they get to do whatever they want over there. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting because I enjoyed Super Crooks as well. Like I love the book. And so it'll be interesting to see how well they pull that off. I know Mark seems to have, at least from the stuff I've read, that seems to be where his focus is right now. And I think if Mark's, if he's got a bit of control over there, I'm sure it'll turn out great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, because, Netflix purchased basically Miller World. So I know that, it's their money and they can do whatever, but they have to also think on, I don't know if maybe Mark says like, do you remember this scene from The Godfather when Vito Corleone goes and see how his son was say, look what they did to my child. Maybe that's what Mark Miller feels, and maybe
sure.
the authors, for example, like you or any author, in case that they have a bad adaptation of their work, maybe that's why they think so. Well, but when the money comes in first, that's when things like this happen. I hope that they learn their lesson and do something better. But let's just see what happens with that. And now, Doc, so, well, Thomas River went on the first one. So the second issue will also, I don't remember, you told me, will also this be a Kickstarter or?
Yes. Yep, we're going to do all 3 issues through Kickstarter.
The 3 of them.
Yep. So as soon as Brian finishes the pencils, then we'll be able to launch the Kickstarter, which should be in about 2 or 3 months.
That's great. And any upcoming rewards different than the ones on the first issue? Any new ideas came to your head?
I'm trying to think. I'm sure we do have some new ideas. There were some things that worked in the first one and some things that didn't, obviously, so like, obviously we'll still have the metal covers because we adore those. I think we've got some cool ideas on some variant covers that I think people are really going to enjoy. So we've got some metal covers that are going to be something that nobody's seen before. And I'm really excited about those, but I don't want to give it away too soon. So,
that's okay. When we talk with other authors and artists, they say, I have a non-disclosure agreement. But in this case, you are your own non-disclosure agreement, and I also respect that. That's good to know. And maybe you have your head in Thomas River and the adaptation, but anything else coming to your head right now? Are you working on new stories or not right now?
Oh yeah, no, always working on new stories. There's always something in the pipeline. Daniel Hillyard and he's already finished all of Vinyl. So all 6 issues of that are complete. It's colored, almost all of it's lettered. We're ready to go. So we've already started on a new one after that. And it's kind of like more of a Hitchcock style of story. So, a lot slower paced than I think people are used to seeing from me, but hopefully people will still enjoy it. And yeah, I mean, it's, like I said, most of my focus right now has just been on vinyl because, since it's coming out this month and we've got 6 issues of that, that's always scary, when you're putting out a new book, and it's going to be it's in the same universe as Plastic. So, it's serial killers, kind of a dark comedy, a lot of fun, over the top kind of horror stuff that we're doing. So well, I know that maybe, but
it's something already developed, or it's something like you have some scraps here and over there on your maybe your creative notebook, like, oh yeah, like this. Some people, when the idea comes in, they have this kind of sketchbook, and they just do you do that, or how do you?
Oh, yeah, old school.
Ah,
I got a
nice.
notebook. Yep. Cheap pen. I've got two notebooks that are always on my desk. They're for two different purposes. So one of them's kind of for like random ideas that just come to my head, and then the other one's for ideas that I'm currently, kind of developing. Um, so that's, I know that's old school, but it's better than trying to find your computer or your phone and trying to type it all on there at the same time. I just seem to work better on a notepad with an old pen. Nothing fancy. The cheapest notebook and the cheapest pen I can find seem to be the best things for me.
Well, whatever works for you, it's the good thing. That's
Yep.
that's always it. And now, regarding, well, uh, Thomas River, what can we expect for issue number 2? When people already read number 1, like they were like, no, maybe something that hasn't been solved for obvious reasons, because it was just issue number 1. Any surprises? What's coming for issue number 2?
Well, issue two is going to be, we've got this massive action scene that Brian and I spent a lot of time working on. And so, if you've read number 1, you know how it ends in a police station. And so then we have this massive action scene of what happens in that police station once Thomas River arrives. And there's total chaos because everybody's involved in this terrorist plot that has happened in the United States, and Thomas is just trying to find the truth. And there's as you know, with different sides to every equation, right? Like there's people that have whether they seem like they're good or bad, sometimes they have bad intentions. And so he's got to figure out who's on the right side and who's on the bad side, and what caused all this. So yeah, I think if you love Brian's art, like he's going crazy on this action scene, and it's just going to be so much fun.
Well, that's the important thing, that you enjoy what you're doing, and the final work reflects that. So now, Brian, talking. Sorry, now, Doc. I was talking. Brian Stelfreeze.
It's okay.
Doc, talking about your writing.
Mm-hmm.
Who inspires or inspire your writing? I mean, which authors? Not necessarily comic books, maybe even theater or any other. Who inspired your writing?
Oh man, there's been so much. I'm a huge. I just suck up content like a vacuum cleaner. Like I just love writing and prose and books and comics and movies and TV and video games and everything. Obviously, coming up, at a young age, Chris Claremont was probably my biggest comic book influence, along with Denny O'Neil. Those are my two favorites. Currently, there's just so many. Jonathan Hickman, Justin Jordan, Sean Lewis. There's just so many indie guys that are writing such incredible books that those are Brian K. Vaughan, obviously. Just huge impacts on how I currently write. As far as like movies and TV, that's always, True Detective, the first season has always blown my mind. The first season of Stranger Things was amazing. Movies like The first Matrix will always be one of my favorite films. Recently, obviously, John Wick is a huge influence. But then you get into the strange ones, right? Like I like Logan Lucky, which I think is an incredible film, was a huge impact on my writing style, as well as Seven Psychopaths. Absolutely adore that movie. Christopher Walken is just amazing in it.
So great.
So, the list just goes on and on. Anytime I see anything that's good, it has an impact on my writing. Even when you brought up The Godfather, I think you saw me start smiling because the Godfather movies had an impact on how I write movies. It's just, there's no way around it.
Well, yeah, that's you have been, like you said, you have been absorbing all this and just creating this mix in your head, and it just came out. So You were talking about Chris Claremont, Brian K. Vaughan, and other great authors. Mm, so have you been, well, when you come back to the moments when you were starting on this, or maybe when you were a child, how is it having the opportunity maybe to work along with these people you have admired, or maybe receive some praise from them? Like, you know what, I love this. I admire your job. Have you received any of this kind of feedback from the people who inspired you?
Oh yeah, and that's always it's very surreal. It's so weird and odd and make like just this past week, Kurt Busiek tweeted about vinyl, and he said he read it and loved it. And to have somebody like that who had a huge impact on me as when I was younger, because I mean, there was a day when Kurt Busiek was my favorite writer. So like for him to tweet about my stuff, and I don't even know Kurt, so at that point I didn't even know how he got a copy. And for him to tweet about how much he liked my work was, it makes you feel weird for like 30 minutes. You don't know your brain doesn't know how to process one of your heroes saying they like your work. Yeah, it was, those kind of things are amazing. I've met Chris Claremont once. I don't know if he's ever read any of my books or not. I might have to get him one just to see if, he either loves it or hates it. But to have somebody like, when we did Plastic, Robert Kirkman, who I'd met a couple of times before, he became, the Walking Dead TV guy. The fact that he gave us a pull quote and said how much he loved it, was just, it's one of those things that kind of touches your heart and your soul. You're like, wow, I can't believe somebody that I look up to so much not only took the time to read something that I put out, but actually enjoyed it. It's just, yeah, it's something that it's hard to describe that feeling because I'm not sure it's been categorized yet.
Well, yeah, I understand. And like you say, it's like when you come back, when you were starting, or maybe that, I don't know, have you seen Ratatouille?
Oh yeah.
And this critic takes a taste of the Ratatouille and he comes back to when he was a child. And do you have these moments when you receive this kind of feedback?
Oh yeah. Yeah. You basically get that feedback and you're like, can you imagine what the 12-year-old Doug would say if, this person or this creator said they loved your work? Like, you can't help but think about like what if your 12-year-old self would be proud of your older self. So yeah, it's one of those, like, it's a weird experience, dude. I'm telling you, like, it's hard to put into words because there's so many different feelings that you get. It's nostalgia mixed with a lot of pride in yourself because here's somebody that you looked up to that's saying, hey, I think you're, good at what you do. You just feel validated as a person. Like, I didn't waste all my time writing comics, like somebody actually enjoyed it. Yeah, it's really, really amazing.
And so far you have been in great projects. You have created great things, but have you already achieved your dream project?
Oh no, and that's, I don't know if I necessarily have a dream project as much as I just want to continue creating better and better work. And so, I appreciate you saying that I've done some good work so far. That's always good to hear, but I think I can do better. I think I can get better. I think I can write better. And so, I think as creators, like, we're always striving for that perfect project that you create and you go, okay, that was the one. That one was amazing. I don't know if that's attainable. I don't know if we'll ever get there, but I'm going to keep pursuing it. So I just want to continue to write better and better books and hope that it has an impact on, like somebody like Chris Claremont or Kurt Busiek or Robert Kirkman or, like Mark Miller's having such success at Netflix, but like the impact he's having on people is huge, and I think in a positive way. People are like, his books make people better people. And that's all you can hope for as a creator.
And now that you're talking about evolving on your writing style, skills, call it any. When you look at the past on your previous jobs, previous works, is there something I said, maybe I should have done it this way, Maybe I will correct. What would you say? Can you give us any examples maybe in your comic books that you say, maybe I should have done it this way instead?
Yeah, there was when I did Legends of the Dark Knight, I did that was digital first and then got printed. Um, I probably could have done. I tried to do too much of a detective story for Batman, and I focused a lot more on the villain than I did Batman. And I think in hindsight, like I was writing to try to please Batman readers and the editors, and I should have been writing the story that Doug would want to read.
Hmm.
And so if I had another shot at it, I would probably like go really unhinged and make it less detective, and if you've read my books, I like violence. So I probably would have put a lot more violence in it and had a lot more fun with it. But I think I took it too serious. So, looking back at it, like I'd love another shot at that because I felt like I dropped the ball on that one.
It always it speaks well for an artist that they are never satisfied with their work. So that's good. I had never heard a true artist say, I think I've done enough. I'm satisfied. No, that's
No, we
something
never are.
impossible.
I think it is, yeah.
But about also regarding writing, well, everybody knows you for writing comic books, but are you working on maybe writing something now that is not comic book related? Maybe a movie that it hasn't been a comic book, maybe a screen play, a theater play, or maybe.
Oh no, I'm definitely working on some screenplays for movies and TV. So that's kind of like a natural evolution, I think, from comic books to screen because it's both very visually dependent. I say that just because I love movies and TV, and I would love to add that to my resume. But please don't take that as like I'm trying to move from comics to TV or film because that will never happen. I love comics. That will always be my first love. If I can write a movie here and there and, maybe somebody picks it up and turns it into something and it's good, that's fantastic. But comics is my first true love. It will always be there.
And anything different than writing? For example, like say Frank Miller is even a movie director, things like that.
Oh, no. No, I'm not interested in doing anything other than creating stories. When it comes to directing or any of that kind of stuff, that's not really, I've never had any aspirations to pursue any of that stuff.
Are you having an acting cameo on this adaptation, though?
Oh, you never know. I mean, that would be awesome, wouldn't it? I won't lie, I'm trying. Even if I'm just in the background eating a hamburger, it's like, can I have a cameo?
Maybe you already did and you are not telling us. That's okay.
That could always be the case.
Well, we will be, pending on the series to see. Who's that guy? No, okay, no, it is not. Yeah, you're sneaky. Yeah, you're sneaky. Maybe you already did and you haven't told us, but that's okay. That's okay. So writing, it's 100% writing for you, right?
Yep. That's the only thing. I mean, I love doing what I do. So, there's obviously days where it's not coming as well as you'd like, and there's a lot of frustrations involved with writing. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, and I've had a lot of jobs. It's hands down the hardest thing I've ever done, but I love it. I absolutely love it.
Oh, that's good to know. You keep how can I say, stick to your true love. That's always something that we can admire. And any plans to maybe with the adaptation, or maybe any plans to come to Latin America?
I hope so. I know that Johan and I kind of talked about maybe coming down to South America before the pandemic hit. Obviously, there's just so many things. We don't know how things are going to go with the pandemic, but I hope everything clears up soon, and I would love to come to South America. There's no doubt about it. That's definitely in the plans.
Oh, that's great. And for example, have you ever been in talks with any other author to maybe make any crossover? I don't know, any plastic X crossover, vinyl X crossover, maybe a Spawn crossover, something like that coming on?
No, we haven't talked about anything like that yet. Plastic's one of those unusual ones. A lot of people that I talk to when we start talking about maybe trying to do something like that, It's such a strange book that they wonder how could you possibly mix anything else with it? You know, like how do you mix Spawn with a blow-up doll? You know, like I mean, I can come up with something.
It's a possessed blow-up doll, for example.
That's right. I can come up with something.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like, yeah, we haven't gone down that road yet, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, but you know that's something that people always think about. You know, crossovers, multiverses, mega arcs, things like that. But
yeah.
So any coming on the Dogverse? Is there any crisis on Infinite Dog Wagner's coming on or something like that?
Not that I'm aware of. So, you know, it's like that one's a tough one. Not that I got my couple of books that I'm working on now, and that's where all my focus is at. So, you know, unless Todd calls me, if you can call Todd up and get him to call me, then he and I can start working on something.
Well, we will try. We'll try. I know that.
That's crazy.
I'm more than an interview. I sound like an agent or something, right?
Yeah, he's tough. I mean, he's so smart.
Yeah.
So.
But I mean, have you think about maybe doing a mega event with your universes? Maybe some of them are harder to mix than others, but anything like that?
Definitely. I mean, Brian and I have kind of tinkered with the thought of is everything that I've written for Image connected? And the fun part about it is Brian's nickname is Freezy B. And I believe in every series that I've done, there has been a product in it called Freezy B, whether it's an ice cream, an energy drink, whatever it might be. So there is already connective tissue. So is Brian Stelfreeze really the Thanos of our universe? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, it could be. Like, is he controlling everything?
Look at me.
You know? So yeah, I mean, it's, you know, we've definitely thought about it, because definitely with the stuff like the Ride and the Hard Place and some of those other, you know, especially the action universe that we have, there's an easy way to link all that together. And bringing all that together would be a lot like, say, the later Fast and Furious movies. You know, you could have a lot of fun mixing those things together.
Well, yeah, I cannot imagine them going to space just like in the Fast and Furious.
No, we're not going to go that far. So my mix would be like, what do you do with Lacey in plastic?
Yeah.
So there's a fun one to me, you know, like, oh my goodness, like you've got this crazy, insane assassin, you know, with Lacey mixing with somebody like Edwin. Like, what does that look like?
That's interesting, you know, and that's something that you on your notebook already have written.
Yep.
Well, okay, well, Doc, it's been like always a pleasure speaking with you. We really appreciate for you to giving us some of your time. Maybe we already told you this in social media, but we really appreciate you including us on your universe. Now, C506 is part of the universe on a little code line or chat, or I don't know how to call it in this case, or a login line. But we really appreciate that now we're part of a comic book universe.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe C506 is actually the villains in that universe. I don't know. See, I mean, it can keep growing. Like, you're giving me new ideas as we're talking.
No, if you know the editor-in-chief, you will say why he says that he may be a villain, you know?
Yeah.
No, but
no, I really, oh, go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I really appreciate you having me on again, Luis. You know, like it's always a pleasure to talk with you guys. So anytime you want to talk, you let me know. It's always a pleasure.
Well, we, you know, when the miniseries of this adaptation you're having finishes, maybe we can talk about that. You know, after we saw it, and we can talk now that it would be like spoiler free because it's already there.
Disculpa, no te entendí. El micrófono está desactivado.
Google Assistant doing.
That's awesome.
You know, good thing I don't have an Alexa, because you know, you say Alexa and Alexa. No,
Yep.
and
That's awesome.
what I was okay, that maybe, you know, now that the series has been released and everything, we can talk about that, and how do you feel now, how's been the feedback? What do you say?
Yep.
Can we
Sounds
make
great.
we have an appointment?
We have a date.
You say it. Okay. Thank you so much, Doug. And well, anything else you would like to tell people about your upcoming Kickstarter, this adaptation, anything?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we got the Kickstarter coming out for the second issue of River. That'll be in the next couple of months. Obviously, there's the 6 issues of vinyl coming out from Image Comics starting this month. Those are the two big things. You can also, I think you and I last time talked about Yumi, the Kickstarter where I did with Hoyt Silva. And so you can still pick up the hardcovers of those as well. So there's Yumi, River, Thomas River with Brian Stelfreeze, and then vinyl with Daniel Hillyard. Those are the 3 things right now that I have out.
Okay, so now you know, just keep looking forward for Doug and Brian's social media for the upcoming Kickstarter. Follow Doug in Facebook. You can find him as Doug Wagner. So there is not such, it is not that hard, people. So look for him also on Twitter. What's your account? At Doug Wagner?
Yep, at Doug.Wagner 13.
Doug.Wagner 13. So now you know. Okay, so thank you so very much, Doug, and well, see you later.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.